Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're watching, whatever time you're listening. Welcome to Your Onion Podcast Show. Today we have a very special guest. Her name is Sarah Champa.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sarah. With all my guests, I like to ask what you're currently doing.
Okay.
And then we go back in time and see how we got to this point in time.
All right. Well, I'm the founder of Maktaba. It's a children's library here in Doha. It's definitely not your traditional library. We really have turned it into a community center. When we first started, we realized that perhaps people didn't have the habit for going to the library as they do in other places. So we needed some things that would bring them in and get them to engage with the books in a new and exciting way. So every time we have a story time, we have an activity, we do science, we do language activities, we do art, we did kickboxing the other day. You name it, we do it at the library as a way to encourage kids to read and make them realize that books open doors to any and every kind of interest.
Absolutely.
And activity.
Very nice. Okay, well, let's go back in time.
Oh, great.
Where are you from?
I'm from Providence, Rhode Island.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what did you study when you were at school?
I went to the American University of Paris for undergrad, and I studied comparative literature and modern European history.
Okay.
And I went to the LSE for my master's, and I did a program called Culture and Society, which was it was held in the media, the sociology department and their sort of media department. So exactly what it sounds like.
Okay.
Society, sociology, and culture, not really anthropological, but you could call it that.
Yeah. So you've always been interested in culture and...
Yeah, I'm fascinated by culture. I'm fascinated by the different ways we interact. I was raised by academics. My parents are both art historians. My mom gave up the classroom for the studio a very long time ago.
Yeah.
So, and I've spent my life traveling and learning about the world.
Well, tell us, how did, after graduating...
High school, college?
Well, your final,
I ended up in Paris just because I'm from a small New England town. I went to a small New England prep school. There was a very predictable outcome, and I didn't necessarily want to have a predictable outcome.
Yeah.
Ivy League or just the extension of a small New England prep school. So I had an English teacher who had gone to the American University of Paris, and I traveled a lot with my parents because they were art historians.
Okay.
And I decided Paris sounds good.
So you ended up in Paris?
So I went to Paris.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is where I met my husband, which is how.
So what were you doing in Paris?
Many years later, I ended up in Doha.
So what were you doing in Paris?
Studying. I went to the American University.
Okay, yes. Yeah. And then after that? So you met your husband at university?
Yes.
And what was he doing?
It's also studying.
Studying? What was he?
Business, I suppose,
okay. So you got married while you were in Paris?
No, many years later.
Okay.
Like 10, 15 years later. So I was in Paris for a couple of years. Then I had an existential crisis because my father was a chairman of the art history department at Brown. My brothers had perhaps taken a alternate course.
Yeah.
And I felt like my parents deserved one Ivy League child. So I transferred to Columbia.
Okay.
But I found after Paris, like even New York City couldn't compare to Paris. So I went back to Paris to finish my studies.
Okay.
And then I had to find something to do with my life.
Absolutely.
And actually, the first job I got was a USAID job, which the funding was canceled right before I started. So I ended up back in Rhode Island trying to figure out what to do.
Okay.
I moved on to Washington, D.C., because in this culture world that I lived in, there was an opportunity to work with Crayola, the crayon people.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, they had a large arts advocacy office in Washington.
Okay.
They worked very closely with the White House and education department, ensuring that there was arts education programming in schools.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it was really a perfect fit for me at the time.
Yeah.
So I did that for about 4 years in D.C. In the meantime, my husband transferred from France to the States for university, finished up there. He started working, we started working. And then it seemed time for me to get another degree because that's what people in my family did.
Okay.
So
what did you...
So I didn't want to stay in the States, LSE sounded like a really good option. It
Yeah.
seemed like this sociology media degree was brand new. So the minute I saw it, I thought this is definitely a great fit for me. It's exactly what I want to do. Went to London.
Oh, you went to London? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got my master's degree.
Yeah.
Stayed on a couple years again working in advocacy. I worked at a conference company. We did a lot of like education department conferences, exactly similar to what I'd been doing in Washington.
Yeah.
Advocacy, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Started a little public sector wing of the conference company because it was kind of new to them, but it was like very much in my wheelhouse. Then my husband decided it was time for him to come back. He's from here. He's Qatari. It's time for him to come back to Qatar.
Yeah.
So it was time to get married. Got married.
Okay.
Came back to Doha. And I...
So when was that? When did you...
2008.
So that's why you're in Doha.
That is why we were going to get there sooner or later. So might as well just...
Yeah, throw it out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how I...
2008.
Yes.
So did you come back to start family, or did you come back... Or
we came back to start a family. Yeah. He had been working with QP and everything outside. It was time to come back to the mothership, as you say, as they say, QG actually. Time to come back to the mothership.
Yeah.
We were ready to start a family, settle down. I had a great time in London, but I was also didn't want to do conferences for the rest of my life. It certainly wasn't my life dream.
Yeah.
So we got back to Doha. And the second day I unpacked and I said to my husband, let's go to the bookstore. I need
Which bookstore? 2008.
Exactly.
Juria bookstore?
Well, this is where it all fell apart. And my husband looked at me and said, well, there might be a problem. And I said, well, you might have left that part out because I packed no boxes with books, nothing. Because I assumed all my life I've been surrounded by books.
Oh, so, okay.
It seemed completely crazy to me.
Had you never been to Qatar before?
No, I like to dive in head first, just like Paris, just like London, just right in.
Okay.
It's better that way. Life is more fun that way.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right.
So that's sort of like how slowly the idea of Maktaba came to pass.
But had you met the family before?
Yeah, I had met his family.
Oh, okay.
Before,
okay.
Because when we were in Paris, actually, his family was living in Paris. So it had been a long, but, we both had things I very much felt like I had things to do with my life. He had things to do with my life.
Yeah. So you went all...
Like we had to do our things and we would come together and,
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's where the light bulb moment, moment.
Yeah,
happened.
I was this is not ideal for me.
So there's no bookstore.
There's no bookstore.
There's no library.
There was a library. Actually, Qatar has the oldest library in the Gulf, which is pretty amazing.
Was it near Suwaki?
Yes. Yeah. But it wasn't really, it was a lending library, but not necessarily with anything sort of current or relevant. It was it was a very interesting collection. I don't speak or read Arabic, so that part but it was still a very interesting, but not for my purposes. You know.
Are you studying Arabic?
My Arabic has improved. I studied Arabic in college. I have many talents. Learning languages does not happen to be one of them.
Well, that's fair enough. Nor is mine.
Yes. So, it took me all of my life learning French in school and 3 years in Paris to be passable in French. So I feel like my 10 years, I'm passable in Arabic now.
Okay, great.
I think I'm more of an experiential learner.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Okay, so where were we?
Aha moment.
Yeah.
No books, problem. Mm-hmm. I lived with it for a while. Then I was pregnant with my son, and I was like, okay, this is definitely not going to work for me because I was quite literally raised in libraries. I mean, when my parents needed something for us to do, that's what we did. Go to the library. Yeah.
Okay.
Or if, my father was in his office, the library, books everywhere. I mean, university, my life.
Well, it's a safe place as well, isn't it?
It's a very safe place.
Libraries.
Yep. Yeah. It's engaging. It was walking distance from my house. Everything a parent wants way back when we were allowed to walk to and from places unattended.
True. Yes. Okay.
So that's the point at which I started thinking, maybe some sort of children's library. What are we going to do? What am I going to do with my kid? I don't know how long you've been in Doha. Doha was very different then.
I've been here 14 years. So
you know that in 2008 was... a very different place.
Absolutely.
And there weren't as many options for kids.
No.
And I am not a mall play area person. The sound of those things
don't.
does my head
was
in.
Yeah.
So that was a deal breaker.
Okay.
And I was super fortunate to meet Hind Khalefi, who was also about to have her first child.
Okay.
Also super interested in books and reading. And that's when we started thinking, well, maybe there is space for a library. Let's go out into the community, see what people think,
Do
get
your
the
little
vibe.
market research. Yeah.
Market research is a big word. As I said, I'm an experiential person.
No.
So we did story time.
Market research.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, right.
We started a story time program. We we worked with the museums. Our first partner was Metaf, and we would do regular story times at Metaf. It was really great fun.
Yeah.
The museum had just opened. People were super excited. They would come to story time. It was very busy. It was back when it was easy to find Metaf.
Mm-hmm.
I love Metaf. I really wish they would make it easy to find.
Where is Metaf?
It's in QF.
Okay.
It's a little bit challenging to find. But it was like the first museum that was opened out there. So
yes, no, isn't it like a square building?
Yes,
it's like,
very, very much inside.
Yeah, I've never been to them. Yeah.
See? It's amazing. You should go.
I think I've sent a photographer there once, but
it's amazing. You should go. It's a great museum. So we started a regular story time with them, which was super well attended. Then, I don't know if you remember Tribeca Film Festival.
Of course.
Amanda approached us to do like family activities.
Okay.
So we did story time for all the years that Tribeca was here. We did story time, and it grew from like a small corner in Qatar. I don't know if you remember how the festival went, to one of those big domes.
No, I never
we
went.
had a little library, and we were doing story time.
Okay.
And
what was that? Just to entertain the children while mum and dad were?
Yeah, and my philosophy is that mom and dad should be a part of the process.
Yeah.
My philosophy is that reading is bonding.
Yes, absolutely.
I try to encourage mom and dad to be a part of the process. It was just a family activity, and it was really wonderful. And it was through these years of building a following that people started to say, I come to every single activity you do at Qatar Art Center, at Metaf, here at the film festival, that doesn't give me books in my hand to read at bedtime.
No.
So
then another
light bulb.
Yeah.
We need to find a way to get books into the hands of families.
Okay. So when did that happen?
That happened in 2015, thanks to an amazing partnership with Rasgas. We started with Rasgas in 2013.
How did that happen? Was that just through someone in Rasgas? Because
from 2011,
oil and gas companies, they all got their procurement and stuff like that. So how?
In 2011, Hind and I started knocking on every door in Doha to get funding.
Well done. Yeah.
Because there was no way I obviously could do this without funding.
Yeah.
And my mom has also been very active running nonprofit organizations. So I sort of had kind of an idea how this is done.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I didn't realize that there's not really any such thing as a nonprofit organization in Qatar. And I didn't realize, and I still struggle with the fact that there's a very strong culture of charity. It's absolutely ingrained in the culture and in the mindset of people here. But philanthropy is something quite different.
Okay.
So supporting cultural organizations through philanthropy is not, especially like individual giving and all of this. I'm sure you've traveled. I'm sure you've been, if you go to the Met in New York City, every single chair has the name of a donor on it. Every single brick. This is how we raise money.
Yeah.
I foolishly assumed I could follow a similar model.
But no.
No, but however, I have been very successful. So we started knocking on every door. For 2 years, I got no from Rasgas, until I think they felt that we had built a strong enough following, a name for ourselves. And then they said, all right, let's give it a go. Let's try to get books in the hands of kids around the world. So we developed an app with some Arabic content on it.
How did that come about? So you developed an app with Rasgas?
For Rasgas, with Rasgas,
okay,
yes.
Right. Okay.
With some Arabic content on it to get Arabic language books in the hands of people like wherever they were in the world.
In the world, okay.
Someday I would love to revisit it and make it more relevant. I would say in the years that have passed, it's not as relevant as it was, but it was the birth of a partnership. And this during the time, so 2013, 14, 15, it was fascinating to see where it was being used. It was being used exactly in the places we wanted. Iraq, Syria, like the mountains of where you literally don't have libraries.
Yeah, no.
So that was great.
So you created like a virtual?
A small library, a small virtual library.
Okay. And how was that, seeing that, we had this conversation about you not being technical?
Well, For me, it was a challenge, obviously, but it was fun.
Yeah.
And as I said, I'd like to revisit it. But as we moved into the land of the physical space,
And how did you choose what should be on the app? What kind of stories?
a lot of knocking on doors to find authors willing to share content.
Okay.
Because, of course, this is also something I've learned here. The idea of intellectual property is a little different, and it was very important to me to make sure that all the content on my app was approved, paid for, licensed properly, ready to go.
Very good. Yeah.
So that did well. And then Raskas approached me with an amazing idea to break the Guinness World Record for the largest children's reading lesson. So
you mean the largest amount of children actually reading at the same time in one place?
Yes.
Okay. And what number was that? What number was that?
I can't remember the exact number, somewhere close to 2,000. We had so many children, we had to stop. The Guinness guys only sent one clicker. So as soon as we broke the record, he stopped clicking. Because you can imagine that was a very long process.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But it was an amazing event and really a watershed for Maktaba because it got us a lot of press and it gave us the momentum we needed to move forward to opening a physical
So had you
space.
created that, Maktaba? Well, you said, that's library in Arabic. So that was there any physical location?
No,
Or it still was
up
in
until
your
2015, it was like a traveling roadshow.
head?
Yep.
Which is,
But
appropriate,
It worked
Yeah.
and it got people excited.
Okay.
So we spent between when we broke the Guinness World Record in September 2015,
So you got good
kitting
press,
out our
you got-
library. Yeah,
It must have been mayhem. 2,000 kids?
it
And
was more
families?
than 2,000 kids.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
families.
Oh.
It was schools.
Oh, it was schools. Okay.
It was mayhem.
Oh.
That's why we had to stop counting because it took 2 hours just to get them in counting, and
Yeah.
it's hard for kids to wait that long.
And were you handing books out at the same time?
We did, yes. Bloomsbury Publishing. So our partners were Raskas, the Ministry of Education, of course,
Yeah.
and Bloomsbury Qatar Foundation Publishing, which is no longer.
Okay.
It's the predecessor to HBKU Press.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
And so they had some books. It was wonderful. It was
Wow.
a great experience.
Yeah. Okay.
Very gratifying. And so then we got to 2015 and we opened our doors.
Where are you? Where are you
We're in
located? And
here-
how did you find the location?
A lot of looking,
Yeah.
as finding the right villa was a challenge, like what was in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot is in my head. And realizing that vision was a challenge. I just happened on a villa near the embassies complex, where
Yes.
all the embassies are
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
And that little
So you're
area,
just outside of that walled area.
like a few streets over.
Okay. Yeah.
Which actually is like this cool little pocket of different little cultural organizations, actually, and little government
nice.
organizations. Yeah.
And was it easy to get a license? Do you need
No.
what kind of No.
That was many,
What kind-
many years. Also, again, I have great respect and great love for Doha because the people who came forward and helped me get my license and all of this, Denton's, one of the partners at Denton's, got behind the project
Nice.
and pushed forward this license that's under Qatari Law 21 of 2006. It's called a Private Institute for the Public Benefit. It's as close as you can get to being a nonprofit organization, and it took many years, much back and forth, and lots of legal, negotiating, legal, the thing that
Yeah, I know what
lawyers
you
do,
mean. Yeah. Okay.
to get our license. So then
Right.
we finally got our license, and then we could move
Wow.
forward.
So take us on a journey into the library. How is it set up?
Okay. So the first floor is for under eights.
Okay.
We have a toddler majlis.
When you say first floor, is that the ground floor?
Ground floor.
Okay.
Yeah, it's for under
So-
eights.
okay.
We have a toddler majlis, which has like a very lovely little majlis seating area. It has books that are appropriate for this age group, about under 4. So we're talking board books, squishy books, anything you can touch, feel, get your teeth into, sometimes literally at that age.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sensory play and age-appropriate educational toys for the kids. So it's starting with puzzles and things because
Nice.
research shows that at this age, all you want to do is get kids to associate books with play and entertainment.
Yeah.
So you put them in there, you put them into their lives.
Nice.
And that's a lovely place for parents to hang out with their children. And obviously kids aren't reading, but the parents can read to them. And it's adorable to watch 4-year-olds or 3-year-olds attempt to read. They think they're reading. They have a favorite book.
Of course, yeah.
They're doing their thing.
Yeah.
And then you move on to a nonfiction section, which is a very junior nonfiction section. Obviously, I would love to have a collection of 100,000 books. And, I've got big dreams, but life
sure
has
you have.
limitations.
Absolutely, step by step.
Yeah, which is a very junior version of a reference section. It is organized by the Dewey Decimal System because I feel that it's important that children grow up to learn if they walked into a library anywhere in the world, where to find the book they want.
Right.
So I'm starting to introduce that concept of how libraries are organized.
How are they organized? What is the Dewey?
Are you serious?
Yeah, I know. I just saw numbers on the back of a book.
My friend, is the Dewey Decimal System.
How does that work? What is it?
So it organizes all books in all libraries in pretty much any language into a system of numbers. So, for example, 500 is science and nature. 0 to 100 is going to be where you find encyclopedias.
And that's all the same
worldwide. And the Dewey Decimal System, you've seen a lot of numbers, right? Because it could be like 599.7654, because there's a lot of books in a lot of libraries.
But it will, depending on the number, will be a reference to the actual
subject matter. Yes.
Wow, never knew it.
See, I feel that everyone should know this. This is important information.
Well, now everyone does.
Yes. So I want to introduce them to the Dewey Decimal System.
Okay.
So that's what we have in our references section. Plus, I want them to understand that if you have a question, maybe Wikipedia is not the only way. Maybe someone wrote a book about that.
Yeah, maybe.
And maybe they vetted it more than Wikipedia vets things.
True.
Because this is important too.
Yeah.
So they got a question about sharks. They go to sharks. I have members who come in. Their child has a report to do. I would like them to go to the reference section, find some books for their report. So that's the nonfiction section. Then we move on to a picture book area, which is suitable. Age is all dependent on how much your parents read to you, how much you read at home, your interest in books. So I would say up to 10. And it's picture books from around the world, all variety.
When you say picture books, is it comics or?
Literally picture books. Comics would be graphic novels, and they would be found upstairs for slightly older children.
Okay.
So picture books like, why can't I think of a picture? Anything.
Yeah, come on, tell me. Give me.
Peter Rabbit.
Is a picture book.
Is
a picture book. No, no words, just pictures.
No, it has words. It's a picture book because it has illustrations.
Oh, okay, right. Okay. That's what you call a picture
The
book.
Little Engine That Could, which I feel is my inspiration for life.
I think I can. Engine That Could. Is that an American thing?
It might be an American thing. But
we had Thomas the Tank Engine.
No, The Little Engine That Could is way better than Thomas.
Oh, shit. Okay.
You got to check it out.
All right, I will.
So that's where you find all the picture books, and that's where you'll find like parents sitting, reading with their kids. Wonderful.
So there's plenty of seating area.
Organized by color.
So there's plenty of seating area.
Plenty of seating area.
Because
we sit on the floor.
I find sometimes with libraries is that there isn't enough space to,
Oh no, we're all about like you get in there, you sit on the floor with your pillow and your rug, or you sit in a cozy chair and you get down to reading. We also have on the first floor. Oh, it's organized by color because primary colors are very good for younger children.
Absolutely, yeah.
We also have on the first floor what we call our maker's room.
Okay.
There's a whole movement in cultural organizations, libraries, museums, etc. That's called the Makers Movement. And the Makers Movement is this idea that we should produce cultural content as well as consume cultural content.
Nice.
So in the museum, you should be able to make things too. In the library, you should be able to make things too. So we pair our story times with activities, art activities, science activities, experimentation, you name it. And Peter, who brought me to you here at Ginger Camel, is one of our sponsors from Quantum Global Solutions.
Okay. Good plug there. Yeah.
Thank you. Look at that.
Absolutely.
They sponsor our garden, which is an amazing place.
Oh, really?
So we're 3 years into our garden club. It's beautiful. We start in September planting seeds. The kids tend them, take care of them. We harvest eggplant, tomatoes, types of spinach, kale, potatoes, sweet potatoes, watermelon, squash. For the kids, this is really transformative because most of us have become very distant from where our food is produced.
Absolutely, yeah.
So for them to be able to get dirty and get in there and watch the process is really amazing. It's also Great to have a green space in Doha. Great to have such a literally fertile space in Doha. So that's our Thursday activity is garden club. And we pair that with some cool books about gardening or seeds or, sometimes fiction, sometimes nonfiction, sometimes picture books, sometimes reference books.
So all right.
We've only gone through downstairs.
No, I know. I want to stop you. Just how many children can you accommodate?
We have,
and do you find that you run out of space sometimes?
We do run out of space sometimes. Like, for example, right now, it's school holidays. We're very, very busy. We're, pretty much every room in the library is.
And how many staff have you got to look after all this?
We have a full-time staff of 2, and we're about 4 at any given time.
Okay.
Yeah. And I have been blessed with an amazing staff. I would have gotten Maktaba is not about me. It's a reflection of my staff and the love they put in and my members.
It comes from you.
Maybe, but the love that the members have for the library and their enthusiasm inspires me and my staff to keep going. Perhaps.
No, it does. It does. And how do you fund it? Is that through?
A lot of knocking on doors.
So you're still knocking on doors?
I will be knocking on doors till the day I die, probably.
Oh, right. Okay.
So we have a member. The library is open to the public, but in order to survive, we have a membership.
Okay.
So our membership is 750 riyals a year for the whole family, plus a refundable deposit just to protect my books because, as you can imagine, in Doha, it's very hard to replace books.
Yeah, no.
So if I have to pay exorbitant shipping fees if I have to bring new books in. But it rarely happens. I was surprised. I thought I would lose 20 to 30% of my books in the first year because people weren't necessarily used to the concept of them. Nope.
No?
They're amazing.
Great.
Yeah. So I've been pleasantly surprised by that.
And has it helped having, the National Library set up as well, that people get used to that whole borrowing books?
I think so. I think they struggle with the same thing. As it turns out, my co-founder, Hint Khalefi, went on to do the children's section at the National Library. Because we're, us, the culture people, and particularly the crazy book people, we're a small
little community.
Yeah, exactly. And we work really well together, and I think we complement each other because the National Library obviously has a far larger collection. They have 1 million books. That's dream. For me, one of the most awe-inspiring moments of my entire life in Doha was the opening of the National Library. This is something that, where else in the world would you be able to witness the opening of what I think is one of the most important institutions to any nation, their National Library.
Absolutely.
When did the Library of Congress open? I don't know.
No.
Hundreds of years ago, the British National, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So some of my members will maybe borrow more books from the National Library because their collection is larger.
Yeah.
But because we are able to run more activities, because we're independent and we're really focused on children, they come for our activities. So we balance each other out and complement each other. And we often do activities at the National Library. They bring their staff over sometimes for training.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. It's a really nice symbiotic relationship.
And have you had that situation where people try to drop off their kids at the library?
Yep.
And
it's a no-go. That is not what we do.
How do you cope with that? No, exactly.
It's a no-go. That's not what we do, and that's not who we are.
Yeah.
You have to be with a parent or caregiver.
So you have to make that clear.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And as I said earlier on, books, it's part of bonding. And even if people are a little skeptical at first, they come back to us 3 months in, 6 months in, and say that this has changed their lives, changed their home lives, changed the way they engage with their kids.
Nice.
And was really part of my dream is that, now story time is a part of all of these people's lives. Every night there's a bedtime story.
Yeah.
Books are magic. My mom read to us every night growing up. Some of my fondest memories have to do with books.
No, exactly. Okay. Take us on the journey on to the second floor.
Oh, yes. Then we move on up to the second floor, which is for the over 8s. And that's where you're going to find chapter books. Right on up through a young adult. We also have Scrabble, Risk, cool games for the older kids. We have a little Majlis. That's where we'll run teen book clubs. We ran a great book club with the U.S. Embassy. We run our own book clubs. It's just a nice space for older children to be away from their younger siblings. Because also, I'm sure you know that we have many multi-generational families here. You can have families that have kids from 2 to 16 or older.
Yeah.
So to provide a space for everyone,
that's why you put them
this
upstairs
separation.
rather than
Yeah.
Yeah.
It gives them a little bit of like grown-up space. And
No, very
that's
good.
where you'll find your graphic novels.
Ah, okay. Very good. So moving forward, is there a plan to open more libraries for children?
If I could find the funding. I would
There's
love
a
to.
shout out.
Yes,
Yes.
if I could find the funding. I would love, because as you all know, Doha is a very, I would say, neighborhood sensitive city. So I have great community that's close to West Bay. I'd say like, let's say up to Waab Street. But then if I want to go farther than that, if I want to be near Villaggio, if I want to be out there, I need funding for a library out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
We do a lot of events and activities in malls, activations all over the place, just reading, getting
Is that to
everybody's
get the
reading
word
vibe.
out?
It's to get the word
Yeah.
out. It also is a source of revenue. Like we do events, obviously, to generate revenue. And we do a lot of events actually out there. And I have people who will come if we run a 30-day event, they will come every day for 30 days
Oh, wow.
and say, I would love to come to the library, but I can't.
Yeah.
And I totally understand.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
committing yourself to like 2 hours in the car. That's quite a lot.
Yeah.
So yes, someday in a perfect world, we would be able to open another location.
Very good.
Oh, I also didn't say that we have books. Our primary collection is Arabic and English. We also have French, Spanish, German, Italian, and Greek. And we just met with the Emory Institute to hopefully start a little Turkish quarter.
Wow.
So we really are a reflection of the people who use the library.
How have you got the space though for all these books?
We just keep adding shelves literally on top of other shelves.
And is it all computerized as well? So
Yeah,
you know.
we have a catalog. Yes.
Okay.
So we can check books in and out. Yep, absolutely.
All right. Okay.
We do our best to be a professional
Yeah. So
library.
you had to invest in all that.
Yeah, we have to invest in
Yeah.
all that. We have to, maintain.
Yeah. How you said about the shipping in books. Do you? How do you keep up to date with what's?
I do my
current?
best to purchase the majority of our books here, mostly during the book fair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, the opportunities have expanded exponentially now. The book fair is really a great place
Yeah.
to purchase books. We've developed relationships with publishers over the years so that, if there's something that the kids really want, I can see if they're bringing it in.
Mm-hmm.
We get book donations sometimes, although just to be clear right now, we can't accept any more donations. We really appreciate it, but space is limited.
And do you have guest authors come in?
We have guest authors. We also run a program with the Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy. They've hired us to produce children's books. We've so far produced 6. This year we produced an additional 4, and we're working on a couple of animations.
When you say produce, you
Literally,
mean you come up with stories and
what we did for the first 6 books, together with the Supreme Committee, we did a call for talent. We got submissions, and we selected 6 authors and 6 illustrators. They are amazing collaborations between Qataris and people who live here in Qatar.
Yeah.
And the books are all about the themes that are part of Generation Amazing. I don't know if you're familiar with the program. Their themes are sustainability, healthy living, and social inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
So they're these really fun books about these themes. They just featured at the Library of Wonders for the Sports Day event at QF.
Yeah.
So as you can see, anything book related, any way to get kids interested and engaged with books, we're there to try to make it happen.
Superb.
Yep.
Well, we're out of time, Sarah.
Yeah. Thank you. I could go on, but that will do it for
That's
today.
why I thought, let's stop it now. No, that's fascinating. And it's an amazing journey. And what you've achieved is admirable, very admirable.
Oh, it's a reflection of the community.
No, absolutely. But, you're spearheading, it's your efforts. So very commendable.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about it.
No, thank you for coming on and telling your story. It's been great.
And follow us on Maktaba Qatar, social media, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook. You can check out our website, but the majority of information will be found on Instagram and Facebook. Maktaba Qatar.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And we'll catch up with you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.